Welcome to my nightmare.
What's up, boys and ghouls? It is your girl, Mika G, and welcome to another episode of Cinematic Nightmares. Today, we are going to be talking about Bring Her Back. Not my favorite movie, but okay, whatever. It's directed by the Filippo brothers, Danny and Michael. Somebody please go check on them. The twisted minds behind Talk to Me. Let me warn you right now, this episode is full of spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, you need to go watch it. Pause this video, go watch the movie, come back and discuss or leave your comments below. Also, just a quick content warning. This conversation is going to discuss grief, child abuse, self-harm, and trauma. So if those topics are hard for you, take care of yourself and come back to this video when you're ready. For the rest of us, go ahead and grab your holy water and your teddy bear and your security blanket, because this one is going to be a ride. And of course, as you can see, I am not alone doing this video. With me, I have none other than a poet, author, rapper, and motivational speaker, Knight Krawler. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
And also joining me tonight is filmmaker, videographer, animator, and 1/3 of the What We Talking About This Time podcast, PropJosh.
Hey, thanks for having me on too.
I'm grateful that both of you could join me for this. And from what I'm hearing, both of you had mixed feelings about this movie, but we are going to get into this, okay? So Bring Her Back, this thing opens with trauma and just keeps doubling down. I mean, you got Andy and Piper, two kids reeling from their dad's death, getting dropped off into a home of Laura, a foster mom who looks sweet on the outside, but clearly has some skeletons and corpses, we'll say, and VHS cult tapes hiding under the floorboards. Now, before we get too deep into the movie, I gotta ask the two of you, what were your first impressions? Just give me a little vibe check. What was your initial reaction when the credits started rolling?
So you mean the opening credits?
Oh no, I mean like after the movie finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What was your first impression? Like as soon as the credits started rolling, it was like, how did you feel?
Well, for me, I was like, okay, wow. This was definitely A24. That's what I thought.
Definitely A24.
Yeah. That was my quick thoughts. I'll have more thoughts as we discuss it more. So,
what about you?
Yeah, well, because we discussed that briefly after it rolled. We talked about, okay, I thought this is what happened, and then you're like, no, I think this is what happened. So I'm like, now I had to rethink my process, because to me it was Pet Sematary-ish, but of course it's not Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary was a class of its own, but that's what I got from the movie overall. So when the credits rolled, it made me think. It was a lot to think about at the very end.
For me, it was a few movies that came to mind when I watched this.
Yeah.
One of the first movie I really thought about was Speak No Evil, starring James McAvoy.
Yeah.
I thought about that movie so hard watching this. I said, this is almost in the same universe as the other movie. And then I thought a little bit about Hereditary as well. I was like, I could see this on the trying to be like Hereditary kind of thing.
I have to say, for me, okay, so when when I got to the end, because I saw this movie prior to it being released, so I got to get the early screening of it. So when we got to the end, there was two young ladies sitting next to me, and we looked at each other, and the three of us together was like, what the fuck? This movie was so heavy in like trauma and grief, and mostly trauma and psychological, trauma, like
yeah.
If you're not mentally prepared for this movie, you're going to spiral eventually, because it's just that heavy, especially if you were ever in the system or anything like that. Like it could get really heavy. And speaking of trauma, let's talk about Andy and Piper for a second. The film did something that we don't see a lot of. It showed how grief hits people differently, even in the same family. Andy's got resentment from his father's abuse, while Piper, meanwhile, was the favored one. And that kind of complicates everything, especially when they end up with their foster mom. Foster mom really didn't want teenagers. She wanted Piper, but she wanted Piper for a reason. And the foster mom is also grieving at the same time because of her daughter, Kathy. And what I mean by grieving is her daughter is in a freezer, hanging out in the backyard. So I would say, what are y'all thoughts on Andy and Piper's, dealing with the grief of their father passing?
It was interesting. So like the way they just kind of unfolded it, basically peeled it like an onion, how you kind of, especially from Andy's point of view, because the movie starts off from Andy's point of view. And I was getting the feeling that he was traumatized by, they showed that he was traumatized by taking a shower. So anytime he heard water running, he's like freaking out. And so I thought that he was like, scared to see his dad like that or whatever. But then as the movie goes on, it's like, oh no, he hated his dad, I guess, right? It seemed like he hated his dad. So it was kind of a weird thing. But with Piper, they didn't show it. I felt like they didn't really show too much from her point of view dealing with the loss of their father. It definitely focused on Andy more. So maybe because she was the favorite and stuff. And then because you hear more about throughout the movie of him being abused by his dad and stuff, and hating his dad and stuff, and he even hated Piper because the way she was treated. Yeah.
Yeah. What you got?
Yeah, my thoughts, because I'll be honest with you, at the very beginning, I got to the movie theater late. So,
Me too. I did too.
So that part, I got there when they were at the foster mom's house. So I missed that entire first part.
Okay,
I had to go back and watch it. Right?
Okay, so I got there when they were in the office talking to the lady.
Okay.
So I was late too.
Okay, I'm gonna catch y'all up.
Oh no! I saw it.
I know you went and saw it again, but y'all probably missed this part.
Oh, okay.
So Andy and Piper's dad goes to take a shower. They find him in the shower, dead. And Piper, because she can't see, obviously, because she's visually impaired, she's telling Andy like, what's going on? What's happening with what's going on with Dad? And Andy does nothing. Like he just stands there and watches his dad go into the beyond. So he had a chance to save his dad, but I want, from my point of view, his resentment of his dad would not let him do it.
Oh, see, okay.
So that part was in the movie. It wasn't just a flashback. He was actually laying down dead, like in the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they could have left that part out of the movie, because from my point of view of the movie, it's just showing through flashbacks, and so I'm figuring out what's going on, like what happened to their father from the flashbacks, but I didn't realize they showed it already at the beginning.
Yeah, because the shower's running, but it's you know how you can tell like the shower's just running too long.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. The shower's running too long. Piper realizes it. She tells Andy like, hey, there's something wrong. Like, there's something wrong. And so Andy busts through the door. Dad is laying on the floor. Shower is raining down on him. But I think it's the resentment of his dad and also the fact that the shower is running that stops him from helping.
Yeah, and I didn't notice because I got in after the foster part. I didn't notice she was partially blind until the funeral. Then I'm like, oh, okay. So now after watching it again, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, just the crucial parts, nothing big, just the crucial elements, the meat of the story, right? So that's why, yeah, her grief was different because she couldn't see it. And, his grief was, like what y'all said, he hated his dad and all that other stuff. And what we were saying about Laura said, or Laura had a daughter that was also partially blind. She didn't want Andy. And Andy made it complicated for her to do her little thing that we all know they were doing because she had to get him out the picture.
All right. So when Piper and Andy show up at Laura's house and Laura mentions her deceased daughter, Kathy, that was also blind, I figured out the movie immediately. I was like, oh, she wants Piper because she's trying to replace Piper with her daughter. I got it immediately.
So I got that. I was like, oh, she's just trying to kidnap Piper. And then it ended up being more than that. And I was like, I didn't understand so much to and so much to unpack. So speaking of Laura, do you think she was a broken mother just trying to heal, or was she a full-blown villain using her pain to justify what she was doing?
Option B, 100%. Because when this was a movie where that's why I say it reminded me of Speak No Evil, almost exact, because I felt the same way when I watched Speak No Evil. As soon as they show up at Laura's, I was like, get out. I said, this lady is weird.
Get in the car and drive.
Right, leave right now. Because I'm already kind of judgmental of people myself. I get a little skeptical, especially around people who are just a little bit weird. And I got all the senses, my spider sense went off and everything. I'm like, nah, we gotta get out of here. So she introduced her to the dead dog. I said, nope. Let's go.
yeah.
That scene was a little bit wild. She was like, "No, you can pet the dog," and Andy's like, "The dog's dead," and she was like, "Oh, okay."
Because you know how sometimes when you're watching a movie, there's a difference between watching a horror movie and living in real life. Because when you're living in real life, you don't know. But in a horror movie, it's like, oh yeah, I'll make these decisions, but you walked into a movie that you know is a horror movie, and so. This was a movie where I was like, I don't care if I didn't know this was a horror movie. I would be like, I need to get out of here. This is weird. Especially she talking about her deceased daughter was blind, and like my sister's blind as well. Something's weird. Something's not right.
Yeah. What got me was the milk is spoiled.
What got me was the phone part when he wanted to be private. And then he looks around and she grabs his phone. Dude, and she's reading the text.
Oh my gosh, I got pissed off at that scene because he turns around and she's literally
right. All of it, baby. No,
I was so pissed off at that scene. That's when I would got into the car and let like, no, Piper, we gone. No.
Right. So I said, Andy, you better than me because baby, I would have fought her.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point when she started painting that picture of aggression from him. But it's like he's not aggressive. You read through his phone like hard. You like you said, like flipping through the whole thing,
scrolling and everything.
Right.
And then confront him about what he wrote. I'm like, no. You're not supposed to read that. That's my privacy.
So during this time, we are also introduced to Oliver.
Oh, Ollie.
Yeah.
Or Ollie for sure. We are introduced to Ollie, and he is standing in the middle of the pool, just standing there.
Well, the cat gets out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You hear the cat yelling really,
and he's holding
loudly.
The cat.
And it's already kind of weird.
Yeah, Laura goes out there and she's like, "What did I tell you about the cat?" And it's like, was he about to eat the cat? That's
Pretty
crazy.
sure of it. Now that we know the entire movie, yeah, he's totally about to eat the cat.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just Andy, your spidey senses didn't start tingling. There's a random kid standing in the middle of the pool holding the cat just randomly.
I mean, like, if we can talk about Andy the way he is with Ollie, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if I'm allowed to jump ahead a little bit.
Oh no, go ahead. We
Y'all already know what I'm talking
around.
about. Y'all already know what I'm talking about right now. When Ollie's in
know.
the room and he lets Ollie out of the room, I was just like, nope,
yeah.
leave him in that room. He talking about feeding him and stuff, and then he gives him the knife. Nope. Come on, man. For me, I was like, no, there's a reason why she got this boy locked up in the room. But I wouldn't even got that far. I would already had left.
I would be like, I just caught this random kid standing in the middle of the pool. This woman is giving off all the creepy vibes, and she keeps this little kid locked up in a room. Girl, Piper, get in the car. Get your stuff and get in the car.
I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie when he broke the circle with Ollie, and then Ollie was breaking out the trance. That was my favorite part, one of my favorite parts, because then he started talking like, "Help me to get me out of here" and all this other stuff. And then when she pulled up, she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, you're supposed to be happy I'm taking him to the hospital, but no, you want to put him back there and put another spell on him.
And that, honestly, that's a great segue into us talking about the ritual. So this is where I was like, I wish we had known more about this VHS tape that she came across, right? And this ritual, like, so the movie, and obviously y'all missed this part because y'all showed up late. So the movie opens with them showing the VHS tape. Mm-hmm. Everything on the VHS tape. So you watch everything that transpired, but we never find out how Laura came across this VHS tape. We just know that she wants to do this ritual. She's using Ollie as a vessel for her daughter. You know, her daughter is inside of Ollie, and the ritual is that the person that is possessed is supposed to eat the dead person, and then the other person that they're going to transfer the soul into is supposed to die in the same way that the original person died, and then that person regurgitates, and it's just a whole bunch of mess. So what did y'all think of this ritual? And even like, we already started talking about the body horror in this movie, but like, what did y'all think of all of that? Like the ritual, the body horror. I mean, that knife scene was pretty.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of, with the ritual, I definitely didn't know exactly what was going on, but I could fill in the gaps. So I thought this movie did pretty well for me for filling in, like letting me figure out the gaps of how this ritual worked. Without explaining it, just sit back, step by step explaining exactly what was going on. I mean, they just gave you pieces of it. So I was like, I kind of figured it out as I was watching it. I was like, okay, I get it. I felt like I didn't need a full explanation of how the ritual worked, but I was still maybe a little bit confused, maybe a little bit more exposition or something for it.
Yeah. It's like, as far as how did Laura get this tape, y'all?
Yeah.
Did she get it on? She got the black market? Did she go on eBay and get this VHS tape? Because
see, with me, that didn't really bother me too much, because I'm thinking, okay, she has trauma, she's supposed to be one of the top therapists, and she just can't get over it. So she found some way to just, like, she got twisted. So she found some way to find that tape. And when you
she probably did her research.
Yeah, when you spiral down that bad, you're going to figure it out. Like, I'm not sure if either one of y'all are anime fans, but like a Full Metal Alchemist, you're going to find out how to do alchemy. You're going to find out how to do a transmutation circle. When I want to bring somebody back so bad, I'm going to figure it out, right? So it's kind of like that. It didn't bother me that they didn't explain too much of the tape. I did like how through the movie it was showing you step one, like what you were saying. step 1, you got to do this. Step 2, you got to do this. Step 3. When it got to step 3, I'm like, oh shit, this is what's going on. Like, so.
Step three was the nastiest part of the movie.
Yeah. And what was so bad was, like you were speaking about trauma, what's so bad is the girl couldn't see. You got the girl touching the dead, frozen body, and she doesn't even know what that is. And like, come on.
It's the simple fact of Laura even introducing Piper to her dead frozen daughter that's in the freezer. Like, no, go ahead and touch. Wait, late.
Yeah.
If I was Piper, I probably would have been like, yeah. So Andy, we leave it at midnight, right?
Well, by that point, Andy's already dead, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Was he dead at that point?
Yeah, he was dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the time,
because the movie shifts from Andy's point of view to Piper's point of view.
Right.
At that point.
Yeah. This movie was for me just like a lot, but there were some disturbing scenes in this movie. Besides the knife scene that we already discussed, it was Ollie in the room in that back shed, gnawing on Kathy's face. That's the part that I was like, oh yeah, oh, my icy almost came up.
So, all right, I guess as I get older, more things disturb me. I swear, me at 19 could probably watch anything, but I get a little more disturbed because, like, two of the biggest things for me is anything with eyes and anything with feet. I can't watch. I have to look away. That's what has happened to me. So while we was watching this movie, my daughter was like, "Dad, there was no eye stuff or feet stuff, but you looked away." I'm like, "Yeah, I did."
Me too. I was like, "Oh no.
So the scene for me, I wasn't as disturbed with, even though it was still a bad scene of him eating the dead body or a frozen body. For me, that I had to look away was when he was eating the table. I had to look away for that part. When he's all gnawing on the table and taking big chunks of
and his teeth was
teeth coming out. I was like, I had to look away. I was like, no. I guess I found a new thing that I can't handle.
Handle it either. I was like, oh no.
I'll tell you, my favorite scene that I didn't have to look away from was when he bit the hell out of her. I was like, good for you, Ollie. And I started clapping. I was like, good for you. She deserved that.
The other two girls that was sitting next to me was like, I know that's right, damn it. You better get the chunk out of her. But that was like Ollie's, like, if in my opinion, that was the kid, that was inside of the body.
Oh yeah, Connor.
Like Connor
Bird.
Yeah, I think that was Connor fighting back. You know what I'm saying? But also probably Ollie being, part zombie, because to me, Ollie was part zombie. Like he was eating anything that he could get his teeth on, the knife, the table, if he could have ate the door, he would have. If he would have actually got his hands on the cat, he probably would have ate the cat too. I mean, but he just gave zombie vibes. And even when his eyes, he was
a demon.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
So, and again, like, this movie is so much. It's just a lot.
Well, all right, so I guess that would make the ending. I guess that would make the ending a little more less confusing, because I was confused when he purposely crossed the line after he saw the missing poster of Connor, and I was like, and I was like, did the demon decide to turn good and cross the line? You know what? I'm just going to give this body back to Connor. I was like, I don't think a demon would do that. So, but if it's Connor inside there and kind of pushing himself over, I don't know. It didn't feel like it. It felt like the demon had a change of heart. Was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna just give this kid his body back.
That would have been Kathy having a change of heart. Because technically that would be Kathy inside of him. And Kathy's like, okay, well, you know what? I feel so bad, but for me, that was Connor. You know what I'm saying? Because throughout the movie, if you watch, Connor was trying to give hints that he was inside. He even
he wrote his name.
He wrote his name. So for me, when Connor realized Ish done hit the fan, and Laura has lost, is off a rocker, although he probably already knew that. He was like, I'm gonna get myself across this line so I can be free.
Yeah.
So I felt more bad. I'm bringing this movie back up again. Speak No Evil.
Go ahead.
I felt more bad for Ollie/Connor than I did for the kid in Speak No Evil.
Now you gotta elaborate now. Now you gotta elaborate.
I mean, all right, because for those, all right, spoilers for Speak No Evil. The kid in that movie, his tongue was cut out, so he couldn't speak, and he was kidnapped from his family and stuff. But that's about it for him. Like I mean, that's all. It's still bad to get your tongue cut out, but Connor lost some teeth and was. Just everything, just especially when he crossed that line, he was all suffering and stuff. I was like, this is a lot for this kid.
I guess that was part of the ritual to keep him hungry, because he had to get as hungry as possible, and that's why she just wouldn't feed him at all. Or what he did, he ate chickens and all types of stuff.
She fed him the hair from the dad, because she cut the hair out at the funeral and she fed it to Connor, which I thought was disturbing.
I was confused by that. Why? I didn't like that either. But like, why? Was it? Did it have something to do with that dream that Andy had about his dad? Did that have the effect of that?
I think she had to keep feeding him something human, right? So whether it was hair or fingernails or something of that nature, you had to keep feeding demon.
Because I was getting the feeling that she did that so you can keep some of that person's soul there, because she mentioned that their soul is still in the body for a few days after they died, and then later on after Andy dies, Ollie sounds he makes a sound just like Andy. He sounds like Andy, which confuses Piper. Right. So I'm pretty sure that Ollie ate something from. She probably
took some hair from Andy and put it in Piper's. I mean, not in Piper, but in Connor's mouth, and that way, that's why we got Andy. But another disturbing scene for me was the funeral scene. Laura. They go, Piper and Andy are standing, at the dad's casket, and Piper's like, how does he look? And Andy's like, he looks good, but he never looks down. He never takes a look at his dad. He's like, nah, that's just how much he resented his father, right? So they go outside, and Laura's like, hey, you didn't say goodbye. You didn't even go and look at the body. And Piper's like, oh, you lied. So they go back in, and Laura's like, oh, you need to kiss your dad goodbye. What?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, because she knew, because she was, even though she was twisted, she was still an expert. She was just a twisted expert, a mad doctor. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, she knew that was going to mess with him, and she just kept going with it too. And I'm like, it's not custom. What the heck? What custom is this?
It's custom.
Yeah, because she kisses him on the lips. Andy just kisses him on the forehead.
Right.
She was trying to get him to do that though. Yeah.
Right, but he wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Right.
Which I definitely was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. Like that would have been another point where I'd have been like, Piper, get in the car.
there were so many scenes in this movie where I'm just like, let's go.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get in the car.
Come on, get in the car.
This movie should have been called Get Out Part 2.
Yes, agree. I agree. So Andy and Piper are obviously in the system because their dad dies, and that's how they end up with Laura as their foster mother. And so let's talk about the real horror behind the horror, and that is the system not only failing Piper but also failing Andy, like from jump, because there is a scene where they meet with the social worker, and the social worker is like, oh, you had an incident like before. And Piper's like, what incident? And of course, we find this incident out later. Andy punched Piper because he was basically jealous of her. But then he told himself that I would never put my hands on you again because I'm going to protect you from our dad. And that's why he was getting the brunt of the abuse and Piper wasn't. So
that punch scene was bad too.
Yeah. So you got this kid, nobody believes him. He has gone to people and said, hey, this Laura lady is crazy, y'all. Like, she's crazy. She has, and he even showed them the picture, like, hey, she got this kid. Do you think, and no, not even do you think, did the system fail?
Yes. Because the best line of the movie for me was when Andy said to the lady, how did you even let her do this? Like, be a foster parent? And I was like, exactly. Why is this lady allowed to be a foster? Like, because I think he said something, did y'all even do your research on her? And I was like, well, she's been a counselor with us for 20 years. She was her friend too. Right. Yep. But did she mention that she lost her daughter who was also blind? And now we have this. Like, that's still not right, guys. Something's still off.
It didn't click to you?
No. Right. Like, she's going through grief herself, and then like, yeah, so I did feel bad for Andy that they just did not believe him because of his past. And so that sucked, obviously. And especially the way Laura was trying to twist things where she's getting Piper on her side and not with Andy. It was, yeah, I felt bad for him. But yeah, I mean, because it was very manipulative. She was very manipulative. Very. Yeah, because she would pour urine on him. We didn't mention that.
Listen, I'm mad about
her urine,
lady.
Her urine, which I was like, hold up. I had to say something.
Different type of diabolical.
I had to say, hold up when I watched it. I said, first of all, I wouldn't have thought I'd peed on myself. I'd be like, okay, who the fuck peed on me?
That's a lot of damn pee.
Yeah, it's like she just dumped it on him. I'm like,
I think you would know if you peed yourself.
And I would think that you would feel like if somebody was dumping liquid on you, you would wake up. Like I would be like, what the? Oh, you dirty lady.
Now when that time when they got drunk and she checked his eyes, I'm like, okay, so he's drunk. So I get he may not feel that, but it's like you can't check somebody's eyes at night and just dump pee on them and they don't know. I don't know about that.
Listen, Laura was so diabolical. She knew that Andy didn't take showers and that he used Axe body spray, sprayed herself, wore his pajamas, went in Piper's room, punched Piper so hard that it woke her up out her sleep.
I hated that part, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah.
When she punched her, I said, okay, we gotta do something about Laura.
Like, Laura gotta get up out of here. Laura got to go. She gotta go. No, she's
like, how dare you punch that innocent girl? I was pissed
off. Now, what I did like the scene right afterwards where, she was trying to convince Andy that he's like, he's a bad person. Then he flipped it on her. He's like, oh, you're going to protect her like you protect your daughter. And then you saw what really happened. Laura went at it.
And when you put that hole through the wall, you better stop messing with that boy.
And see, if Piper would have saw any of that, then she would have known that Laura, she would have been able to see that part. And would have known Laura was just crazy.
But again, that's how diabolical Laura was. She knew that Piper couldn't see what was going on. So she would yell out, oh my God, please don't hit me. And she just standing there.
Another name for this movie should have been See No Evil.
I missed it. You missed it. Y'all called it Bring Her Back, and you should have been See No Evil. But that's also where, again, it goes back to the system failing them. Like I feel like if the agency had known that Laura was unstable, especially after losing her daughter, like those kids would have never ended up with her. I mean, Andy wasn't supposed to end up there in the first place because Laura didn't like teenagers, so she says. So, but
Piper was like she was practically a teenager herself.
She literally was a preteen. She probably was like maybe one more year from being a teenager.
She was like 12 and a half, 13 after being a month or something. She was on the verge of teenagehood.
But I think because, again, the system failed them. But the lady was like, "Oh, she's my friend. I know her. She also had a daughter that was visually impaired, so she would know how to treat and handle Piper. Yeah, she belongs here."
Like, so I couldn't help but to think, if they knew so much about Laura and trusted her to be a foster parent, knowing that she lost her daughter, I'm like, so how did this funeral thing happen? If she still got her daughter's body that's frozen, so there's no grave, there's no proof of a funeral. I mean, maybe a death certificate. That's a thing. Wouldn't you have that at least?
I don't think she had all that. I think her daughter died. She put her in the freezer. She went on Beyonce's internet, and she started looking for ways to bring her kid back. And she ended up on the dark web, and then she ends up with a VHS tape, and she's like, "Now I just need to find a vessel. All right, come here, you kid." You're now
how she find Connor?
How about this? Do you think Connor was the first? Do you think it was a series of experiments, or do you think Connor was the only one, and the other ones didn't work?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The way it was going, I feel like Connor was the first. But they should have gave us a little explanation why Connor was there, how she find him. Because in Speak No Evil, which I keep bringing that movie back, sorry. It reminded me so much of this movie.
It's literally that movie.
It's the same movie. But they show more. They show what James McAvoy did, like how he was manipulative in getting that kid's family, like killing off that kid's family to get that kid as his adopted son. And so you knew what he was doing and what his plan was to get the new kid and stuff. So it was a little bit more explanation with his character. That's why I said, like, I mean, Laura and James McAvoy's character were like one and the same. They had the same kind of goals. Right. It's just that you knew James McAvoy's character's goals a little bit more than Laura's. Laura's was a little bit like it was like we were caught in the middle of it with Laura, instead of we didn't see this from the beginning with her.
And I have to agree that this was probably her first time, because you could tell by all the mistakes she made. Right. Like, so, like, when it came, especially when it came to, I mean, she knew about creating the circle to keep Ollie in, right? But she was waiting. She was waiting for the perfect time for it to start raining, which I ain't seen a swimming pool fill up with so much water and then that water drain out so quickly.
I didn't even think about that.
So it was in all of the mistakes that she made, because she didn't know what she was doing. This was her first time.
Especially the way she kept going back to the VHS tape and rewinding and watching it. This was definitely she didn't know what she was doing type of thing. Right.
She was like, okay, I got step one. I got my daughter's vessel inside this kid. All right, now I gotta wait. Now she's playing the waiting game, and that's why she, but that's why she was like catering to Ollie so much, because she wanted to make sure that this vessel continued to stay. But as we're watching this movie, the vessel is slowly starting to deteriorate. Which, when Ollie does, or Connor does finally cross over, it's like he goes back to looking the same way he did before all of this happened. Except he ain't got no teeth. All this is missing.
You know, that's probably what happened to us. Like when she had that that Batman Superman epiphany, that Martha. Remember that? They're fighting each other, and then we're gonna talk about Martha now. Oh, yeah, let's forget we're fighting. We're cool now. The same thing with her. Like, you gotta call after all the shit she did, you just call her mother, and then she's like, yeah, you know what, forget it. You know,
Right.
I think at that point, Piper figured her out. She figured Laura was crazy, and it's like she, so that's why she yelled out "mom" or whatever.
Yeah, I think at that point, Ollie was like, "Well, then you're not serious. I'm not serious either. You know what? Fine, forget it." I thought we were serious here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, right.
Are we doing this or no? No. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and head out.
Yeah,
Laura was very sloppy. That's definitely,
and that's why I said this had to be her first time. Like she didn't know what she was doing. She was just like, I know I want my kid back. But what was the end goal, Laura?
Right, exactly. By the way, I gotta say, because I watch a lot of movies, but as soon as the counselor saw what was happening, because the counselor didn't believe anything, as soon as she saw Ollie in person, I said, well, she's dead.
I'll tell you that I just didn't know how, but I agree with you 100%. I didn't. I thought she was going to get pushed. I thought she was going to get pushed down the stairs. I thought maybe Laura had a gun or something. What I didn't expect is both of them get hit by the car at the same time,
right.
And I didn't expect him to die. I thought like his last breath, he'd come back in the end. No, he's dead. He done.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they killed off Andy.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that either. I thought he should have came back. Like when Piper touched him, I think that's when he should have came back. And like, and then she's like, I believe you now. And get me to the car. Come on, girl. I told you we should have got to the car earlier.
But I guess they had to kill off Andy so it would be harder for Piper to get out of there because she's blind and she's young. She don't know what's going on, kind of thing. So it's harder. If Andy was alive, it would be so much easier to get out of there.
Right. And speaking of the counselor, she did too much talking for me. She did way too much talking for me. Like as soon as I see her arm bleeding, I'd have been like, yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and head to the car. And we gonna discuss this later. Like she's like, you need to let go of me. Lady, if you don't pick up something and hit this lady. Like she did too much. Like it was just too much back and forth. Like, you gotta believe me. Hey, I done seen enough. Matter of fact, let me get my phone. I'm finna call 911 as I'm running to the car. That's the other day. Nobody called the cops.
It's always those scenes when they have that one person that don't believe, and then they finally believe, and there are no cops around, and you know they're gonna die. Because it's like, why didn't you bring other people with you? Of course not. Why?
So that was my biggest complaint. I ain't gonna say complaint. That was my biggest, drawback of this movie is that this kid, you're listening to Andy, right? You're going to Laura's house knowing that she possibly has a kid that has been kidnapped. And you're not taking the police with you.
Because it's her friend. That's why.
But still, there's protocol for them to follow. I know, because I used to work for the system. But there's protocol for you to follow when you're doing a welfare check like that, especially when you know that there is a possible kidnapped child. You're supposed to bring the police.
And see, to me, the horror was not even bringing somebody back, transferring bodies. The most unbelievable thing to me was how she cleaned that house so quick before they got there. Like that, I believe possession before I believe that shit. I like, no, there ain't no possible way she do that.
Exactly.
Ollie had a whole field day in that house, and she cleaned that house in 2.5 seconds. Like, damn, are you Superman? Like, she got. That was very unbelievable. Like, she's like, oh yeah, we had a party. What? Ma'am, if you don't get out my face, like, see, that would have been clue number one. I'd have been like, recording. Say less. So let's go ahead and discuss that final act because I already brought it up. Andy's dead. Counselor's dead. It's Piper and Laura trying to drown her in the pool. Now, the water is up to Laura's chest in the deep end. And she's trying to drown Piper, and Piper is under the water. The ritual is, she's trying to complete the ritual, but we already know the ritual has gone wrong. And then Piper yells out, "Mom." And Laura just stops. And she's like, "I'm sorry." Wait a minute. Like,
yeah, it was definitely the Martha moment, just like Krawler said. Yep, it was 100% the Martha moment that they,
like, come on now, seriously.
So Piper gets out. She's, I guess, safe. Ollie has crossed over to the other side and has gone back to being Connor now. And then the police show up.
So,
I mean, that's what happens. You have to wait till everything's over with.
This was my take on that. I think when she got away, what caught them was the fact they were like, remember she went and got her from what Piper was doing, that activity or whatnot, whatever it was called. And then they were talking to Laura. Remember, we got to talk to you about Piper's eye. It's like, I'm not talking about that right now.
That's right. The teacher. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought about that. I thought about that too, because she runs out real quick with Piper. And I was like, well, right there, the police should show up because that's suspicious as hell.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm thinking when Piper ran to the road, that was them, and then they called the cops.
Probably.
Well, I felt like Piper found a random car. That's what I thought. I thought Piper found a random car that helped her, and then went and got help or got the police or something. So I don't know.
That's right. Because Piper gets away. She's running through the woods. She can't see, so she kind of has her hands out in front of her so she doesn't run into any of the trees. She ends up running out into the middle street and almost gets hit by a car. And the car stops. She's like, help me. She's trying to kill me. And they get in the car and they call the cops, and the cops show up. Now, this is where I want to call kind of BS, because again, it took days for the pool to get as full as it was. But the movie ends with Laura laying in the middle of the pool in the deep end. Now, mind you, in the deep end with Kathy in her arms.
Yeah.
And mind you, Kathy is half eaten, so half her face is like, half her face is missing. But she's cuddling with her. Now, this is where me and Nightcrawler had a discussion about this, because he thought that Laura was dead. And I was like, no. She's not dead.
No,
she's accepted her fate.
Yeah, because they show up and the cops show up and catch her.
Right.
They cut the movie off right at that moment.
Right. So did you want
that,
more from that conclusion? Did you want to see like Piper, like that's her right there, like in like in jail, like in a New Jack City or something like that?
You know what? Yeah, that's a great example. Like, just like New Jack City. Yeah, I wanted to see something else. I want to see Nino Brown got away and then he didn't get away. I'm like, no, you don't get jail. For all that, you don't get jail. you get Ollie coming back and
get off. You want Laura to get off and Piper to put a round in her. Like that's what you want. Piper can't see.
Well, I think they were trying to get you to feel bad for Laura a little bit too, because it was a little bit of both. Because it was like, Laura is weird as hell, but I did feel a little bit bad for her as well. So it was a weird mix. Even though Laura was, I mean, I felt just a little bit bad for her, just a little bit, because of her grief that she's going through. But she's still not a good person, though.
Right. Like I felt the same. Like I felt a little sorry for her, just a little bit, because it goes back to that saying, what would you do to bring back the one that you love? And she took it to the extreme, but you still can't help but feel sorry for her, because and I asked Nightcrawler me and Nightcrawler also discuss this as well, is I felt like we should have got more of the backstory. I mean, I know we got it in flashbacks. We know that her daughter Kathy ends up in the pool. She ends up drowning herself. But was Laura to blame? Did Laura have a like, was it one of those things where her and Kathy were arguing and she's like, I'm gonna go outside, and then she didn't know where she was, and then she ended up in the pool? Or, was it another one of those things where, Laura might have pushed Kathy into the pool?
They should have showed something like that, because they were more focused on Andy's relationship with his father than showing how Laura was with her daughter.
Correct.
Because you're right. Maybe Laura was abusive. That definitely could have been the case. Especially if she's going to be that crazy. Because I doubt she was like the world's greatest mom and then become this person. Like, no, I think you were kind of crazy beforehand. You had to be somewhat crazy before you got to full 100% crazy.
Right. Because even though there are parents, we know there are parents that, love their kids. They love their kids, unconditionally. But there's also, parenthood can be stressful at times, especially when you're dealing with a child that has an impairment, right? So, if you're constantly, telling your kid like, hey, stop going outside, you're going to fall in the pool and you're going to drown. And she does it. Like, it'll almost feel like, okay, I'm going to teach you a lesson, and just let it happen. But then she realized, like, damn, I messed up, and went to go try to save her.
Yeah, it could have been, or like just a lack of supervision, and she just stumbled into the pool. Yep, it could have been all that.
Right. And I feel like they should have went into that a little bit more versus us getting Andy's, more of Andy's backstory and the abuse and everything, because ultimately this movie was about Laura.
Yeah.
It was about her grief, her trauma of dealing with the death of her child, and, doing whatever it took to get her kid back, versus Andy and Piper's story. Like, you could have just gave us a brief synopsis, like, hey, his dad used to beat his ass. And then focused more on Laura and Kathy's story. Like, maybe the social worker knows, like, hey, she wasn't the greatest mom, but she loved Kathy to death, and it was a freak accident. Like, it was just that one day that she wasn't watching her, and she ended up in the pool.
Yeah, and that's why that goes back to what I was saying, why I call it a little pet cemetery-ish, because when you suffer that grief, you just stop thinking. Like, y'all, I know y'all saw the movie. Okay, so the cat comes back. Nobody really cares about the cat. I mean, the cat's hissing. A lot of cats are evil anyway. Nobody cares, right? Kid, the son died. He comes back evil. So what are you going to do? Oh, you're going to bring the wife back too? She's going to be evil. Come on now. Like, nobody's going to come back good. But the grief is just, at this point, he doesn't care anymore,
In Lewis's defense, his mindset was, my wife just freshly died. Ain't no way she gonna come back evil. My son been dead for a couple of weeks. That's why he came back evil. He was just like church. my wife just met her maker a couple of hours ago. She should be okay.
Yeah, and the real enemy was Judd, because it's like, you already knew it, and you're going to show him where the cemetery's at.
Right.
Like, why are you doing this?
Cemetery, and why this movie pissed me off? So, all right. So we are at that time where we're gonna wrap this up. Let's go around. Your final thoughts of this movie. Would you recommend Bring Her Back to anyone? And what's your score out of 5, Josh?
It depends on the person for me to recommend it. If you're like, if you don't like stupid people making stupid decisions, I would say this movie is not for you. Because you're gonna get angry, like, because there's a lot of dumb decisions in this movie. And the bad part about it is Andy's kind of smart. You can tell he's a smart guy, but he's making the dumbest decisions. So
Piper, get in the car.
Exactly. That should have been the phrase of the movie. Get in the car. Piper should have knew better than that was her brother that punched her. But she should have knew that wasn't the case. Like, no, something ain't right. Like, your brother who just randomly punches you. Well, he's been having issues lately, like peeing on himself. What? No. So yeah, that's some people I know they would get pissed off watching a movie if somebody's making dumb decisions. So I wouldn't recommend it for those type of people. But maybe somebody else who just, it's an interesting story enough. Maybe I recommend it to a small group of people. But overall, I wouldn't recommend it to your average viewer.
Yeah.
I don't think they will be able to handle this movie. I could barely handle it myself because there's a lot of gross scenes, and I can handle gross scenes. I would eat a pizza in front of the grossest scenes sometimes, and I couldn't even barely look at this movie. So
yeah, me and my icy didn't agree on this movie.
So my rating would be, I would say it's like a 3 out of 5 for me.
That's solid. That's a solid rating. What about you, Nightcrawler?
I would give it a 3. Like me and you talked about it before. I like movies, the movies like Oculus and the movies like movies like that, and it's just Event Horizon, stuff like that, where this did get kind of graphic. I could take some of it, but yeah, that table scene, the knife scene, I'm like,
yeah, that was too much.
I mean, but I give it a 3. But I watch a lot of movies, so I don't get really super critical about movies, because it's like I've seen some really terrible ones. So this ain't a terrible movie to me. I like some of my favorite scenes was when he was breaking the circle. The fact that we thought he was going to survive and he'd had the last strength to save his sister and he didn't. It's just those type of cliffhangers where when you watch normal horror movies, they all seem to end the same or whatever, and they just, okay, let's make this little change, this little switch right here. I'm like, okay, nice touch. I mean, there's only so much you can really do with too many movies like that, So yeah, I didn't see that aspect of it. What about that?
I was gonna say, for me, like, all right, a question for y'all. Did y'all think that Laura was gonna somewhat get away with this, like actually transfer Kathy into Piper? Because it was at some point where I was like, I might not have to be attached to Piper right now. Laura might actually get away with this.
I want to say it was the scene where it was after Piper got punched, and Piper immediately took Laura's side. I was like, oh, Piper gone, y'all. She about to be Kathy.
Because this movie could have went either way.
Right.
Because it really could have. Because that's the one thing I say will be maybe a positive about this movie, was I didn't know how it was going to end. I was like, it could go either way. Like, Piper could get away or she could not get away. So I basically had to watch it just to see.
Yeah. When she hit them both with the car, and then Laura drowned him in the puddle, and then a few more minutes of the movie went, and I didn't see him come back, and I'm like, oh, he dead for real. Yeah, it could have went another way.
Exactly.
No, I honestly, truly, when Piper started taking Laura's side, that's when I was like, I like Piper dead, y'all. Piper about to be trapped, and Kathy about to take over, and Laura's gonna win, and that's how this movie is gonna end. And then like, even when she got rid of Andy, I was like, Piper's still gonna like take her side. But then when Piper found her brother in the bathroom and was like, come on, get up, pineapple, and he didn't respond. Grapefruit. That's right, grapefruit. He didn't respond, and she was just like, this bitch is crazy.
Yeah, because what at one point she told her straight up, she's like, I'm going to drown in the pool, and then I'm going to, like, she told her straight up, it's, hey, I don't have to hide it no more.
Laura says, somebody got to go.
Plus, Andy's father in that weird dream warned Andy, because he woke up at the hospital saying that he said, my dad said that that Piper would end up dying outside, like if it rains and stuff. So yeah, they didn't explain that too much either, because I was like, how? So his dad is coming back to talk to him, to warn him.
And the dad used to beat his ass on the
right.
Was this after Ollie ate the hair though? So after Ollie ate the hair, then he could come back with the dad.
Yeah. And he was in the hospital. He ended up in the hospital, and Laura came to visit him. This is when he got the concussion. Right. And Laura came to visit him, and he woke up and he told her, my dad told me, I need to look out for Piper, because especially when it starts to rain. And Laura was like, You crazy. It's okay. It's okay. It's just a discussion talking. You're fine. I'm gonna go take care of Piper. And Andy knew, like, nah, something ain't right. But again, why would the man that used to terrorize this kid be the one to come back and tell him?
Well, because he cared about Piper, so he doesn't want nothing to happen to Piper. That makes sense.
I mean, I guess in his subconscious mind, he probably created his dad warning him about Piper.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know, like
Maybe.
because I mean, his dad is the only person that he really knew, because we never got to see mom. So
right, we don't know nothing about the mom. We just knew that his dad married Piper's mom, and they didn't say nothing about her after that.
Right, correct. So I could see that, like, subconsciously he goes to the one person that, even though this man terrorized his life, this is the person that also cared about Piper a lot. So protect your sister.
And that could also been part of the position of Ollie too, like how he used his voice with Piper. If he ate the hair, so now he was able to warn him, because he was trying to warn him as Ollie. So now he's trying to warn him in another form too.
Maybe that's the case. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
That's true. So for me, this movie was visually stunning. Shout out to the Filippo brothers for creating something that was visually stunning. However, this movie was trauma stacked on trauma stacked on trauma. And I would not recommend this to anybody who is squeamish or cannot handle anything that has to deal with objects leaving your body, like your teeth. Or if you just cannot handle traumatic experiences, or if you've ever been in the system, I probably wouldn't suggest this movie to you either, because you definitely gonna have PTSD, especially if you weren't believed at one point, because I think those parts made me upset as well too, being a prior CPS worker. It's like, dude, you're supposed to believe the kid, like, and until you have facts, right? You believe whatever this child says. The child says that, hey, that's that kidnapped kid. He's at Laura's house.
Yep.
And the first thing you do is you get on the phone with the police and say, hey, this person may have a child that has been kidnapped.
Yeah, so first thing she was trying to do was call Laura. It's like, why are you trying to call Laura? Like,
don't call her. Right. That was,
She's not answering the phone because she's too busy drowning Piper in the pool. So emotionally, grief, all of that. If you've ever lost a child, be mindful watching this movie. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody that has ever lost a child, because you may be re-traumatized. For me, my rating is, I gave it a 2.5, because again, when I finished watching this movie, I was like, what the fuck? What did I just watch? I don't understand. But I also need somebody to seriously go check on the Felipe brothers, because damn. Y'all going from one traumatic movie to another traumatic movie, dealing with grief and death. Like, somebody go check on them boys.
Yeah, and they were doing like YouTube videos about Street Fighter.
Right, and then they came and talked to me, and it was like,
how you doing a movies, little fan-made movies about Ryu versus Ken, and then doing this? Like, it's completely out of left field.
Right. So
hey, and it should have been Mortal Kombat instead. That would have made more sense.
I think they were trying to go for the same shock value as in Talk to Me.
Yeah.
Which, Talk to Me is a great movie. Love Talk to Me. This one didn't hit so much for me. So, but I want to thank both of you for coming on to Cinematic Nightmares. I appreciated this conversation. I'm like, so traumatized. I just got re-traumatized. Golly. So, we went into this ritual. We went into the chaos of bring her back. And obviously, I just could not have done it without the two of you. So, KnightKrawler, tell the viewers where they can find you.
Okay, well, I'm on Beyonce's internet. You can find me on Instagram, the Knight Krawler. It's KNIGHT KRAWLER. Also have music. One thing you can actually do, you could Google Knight Krawler. You can go iTunes. I have poems out. I have music out. And like I said, that's my Instagram handle is the Knight Krawler. I'm also on experiment with the TikTok. I got a few things out. And you can find me on there too. So if you want to Google KnightKrawler TikTok, KnightKrawler Apple, I'm there.
All right. And Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me on everything as well as PropJosh. You know what? I'm gonna steal what you just said, KnightKrawler. you can Google PropJosh, and that's me. I'm the only PropJosh in the world. But so I'm on TikTok, YouTube. I got a bunch of animations and stop motion videos and stuff. And on Instagram, I'm PropJosh_productions.
Nice. And again, I thank both of you for coming on to Cinematic Nightmares and joining us in the void. And if y'all enjoyed this conversation, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Tell your friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Drop a comment below. Share it with all of your horror-loving crew. And the full everything, all of their information, their links, their bios, all that stuff will be in the description notes of this video. And in the future, make sure you always listen to your kids, okay? And until next time, boys and ghouls.